Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Blake Creamer, and today we're going to be counting down the top 10 right wingers for Fantasy Hockey 2025-26 season. I'm going to break down not just their skill and production, but also their roles, usage, and sneaky category coverage. You're going to hear where the elite names stack up, which guys might be undervalued, and who can win you your leagues. Let's get to biz. Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm a little bit sick today. Oh, my God. We've had some pneumonia running through the house here. So I think you're going to get flinty, Blake, for the next couple weeks of episodes here, and that's fine. All right. That makes me feel nice. But please give me a follow over on Twitter/X at Blake Creamer AG. Also, check out the Apples and Ginos Discord. Link is in the description. Get in there. We're getting the biz. Lots of people talking fantasy puck all the time. All right. But today we are doing a fun episode here. I did the top 10 defensemen here recently, and now I'm getting into the top 10 right wingers for 2025-26. I want to get right to it. We're going to do points league and categories league. And let's just dive in here. Starting at number one, I think it's a pretty easy choice here. Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning. There's not really too much to be said here. This guy's easily the top player at the position here. We're looking at, one of the elites in terms of power play points. Like it's crazy. This guy is routinely getting 45 to 50 power play points. That's nuts. Playmaking ability, insane. He's shifty. He's got the shots to go with it as well. Something I noticed when I was digging in on Kucherov here is IPP at 5-on-5. It's routinely in the 80th percentile. And that's elite stuff, right? That's about as elite as it gets. And last year it was down a little bit, just his IPP at 5-on-5. So, maybe there's a little bit of headroom there for a bit more production at even strength. But he's the number one right winger for sure. He's also a top 3 option in fantasy this year. I think I'm taking Kuch over Draisaitl all day in most formats there. I think he just drives everything for the Lightning. Whereas, Draisaitl is, he's a play driver as well, but his even strength deployment, not as good. I had this conversation in one of our recent ADP battles, so definitely check that out. But I just think that Kucherov has a bigger piece of the pie there in Tampa. It's a great situation for fantasy hockey. Obviously, he gets buku minutes with Braden Point and Jake Gensel. That line is elite. That's not going to change, right? So I think with Kuch, injury is really the only thing that could derail him from having an amazing season. And I think he's going to be the number one right winger across all formats. Just don't expect him to be your dancing monkey at the All-Star game. All right. He doesn't do that. But in terms of projection for Kuch this year, we've got him for 40 goals, 86 assists for 126 points. Bang. That'll play. That'll freaking play. 289 shots, 36 hits, 36 blocks. That's, nothing doing there, but that's not why you draft them. 48 power play points is what we have projected for Kuch. So great looking season on the way for Nikita Kucherov. I don't see why anything would change. Tampa's still going to be a wagon. So get him in your life. I think if you got the number 3 pick, you're looking at Kuch. Do it. All right. Let's move on. We got to look at number 2 here. He's cooking us something up. It's David Pastrnak. Yeah. I think there was a time too recently where the gap between Kucherov and Pastrnak, it wasn't quite as big, right? But the Bruins roster depth has fallen way off this year. It's actually kind of bleak if you look at it. Even on the top line here in Boston, like Pasta's set to play with Elias Lindholm and Morgan Geekie. Nerd alert, Geekie's here. And Lindholm is likely due for a slight bounce back. So I feel good about projecting that. He's not going to get worse at the very least, but serviceable player. Pasta has shown some chemistry with Morgan Geekie as well. So the fact that he's still second on this list, David Pastrnak, is a testament to just how talented of a player he really is, right? And I've talked about Austin Matthews a little bit this offseason and some of the ways he's had to adapt his game. And that situation sort of reminds me a lot of David Pastrnak here in Boston. This guy is, as elite of a shooter as you can get. He's a pure shooter, and he's had to adapt his game, right, for whatever reasons, to become more of a distributor. And, when it was Austin Matthews, it was an injury that he was dealing with. So he had to sort of change his style a little bit. For Pasta, I think that it's lack of depth on the Bruins, right? I mean, he has to do it all. In an ideal scenario, David Pastrnak is the shooter, right? He's one of the absolute best in the league at that. This guy has 60 goal potential every single year. But the way that this roster is constructed, it just seems like he has to facilitate things to be effective, right? And he's done that at an elite level as well, with another 100-point season in the books. That's excellent work. I mean, Pasta 106 points on the Bruins team last year. That was not good, right? And that's with a down power play year as well. He only had 23 power play points after scoring well over 30 in 2 seasons previous. So, yeah, I think that Pasta's still the easy number 2 here, right winger. Doesn't feel like as much of a slam dunk, though, as it has in years previous. Like, I used to be really excited to get Pasta. Now it's like, oh, Pasta. It's like, when your mom puts like butter and salt on the noodles and you're like, okay, that's fine, but I want the Villa Scalapini, huh? It's not even pasta. It doesn't make sense. Sorry, folks. His IPP, David Pastrnak, it was 91% last season at 5-on-5. That was tops in the league. That's insane, right? He does it all, right? And he had to. So that tells you a lot about kind of the season that he had. And it's hard to really bank on that for fantasy. Like, can he do that again? Maybe, but it's he's really going to need some help from his teammates here. And I think when you're a guy that can, drive play to the level that Pasta can, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Like, I think we can reasonably expect his IPP will remain high, but also, what if he has an off night, or an off week or an off month, right? Because if he does, who's picking up the slack? Who's getting those points, right? So it's just kind of a precarious situation, but it's not something I'm too concerned about, obviously, with an elite player like this. Like I mentioned earlier too, Pasta, he was also able to get his point total last year with subpar power play points, right? 23 power play points after 30 plus, for the 2 seasons previous. Shots were down and his individual scoring chances for were down as well. Lowest of his career besides his rookie year. So, apples and Ginos, we got him bouncing back there with a 29 power play point performance. So that's pretty nice. A full season of Charlie McAvoy and Elias Lindholm is going to help there as well. Plus, I like Victor Arvidsson as well. Potential power play performer. I've talked about this guy before. Eventually, he's going to hit, folks. All right. It's RV season. All right. I bet we'll talk about him another time. Long story short, I think we're looking at close to 100 points again for Pasta. And if Lindholm is able to sort of get his game back to where it's been in previous seasons, Pasta's goal total should rise, right? This projection is probably on the low side and reflects the team more than it does the player. So in terms of the projection, we do have him for 46 goals, 52 assists, 98 points, rounded up to 99 most likely. Big time shots, though, 336 shots, 67 hits, not too shabby, 25 blocks, and 29 to 30 power play points is what we've projected him for. David Pastrnak is electric. It's a great way to start off your fantasy drafts. It just doesn't have the same kind of excitement that I used to have with this player. All right, let's move on. We're going to get spicy here, folks. We got Big Moosey, Mikko Rantanen. I've got him at number 3 here. And I think, Rantanen is going to be an interesting player, no doubt. And I debated where to put him on this list because Nate has him a lot lower than I do, right? Nate projected him for, I think, like 83 points or something. I projected him for 93. So we were really off on that Rantanen projection. But I'm just not there. I'm not there yet with Rantanen that low. It just doesn't, it's just not making sense to me. I believe that Rantanen is still an elite player, even away from Nathan McKinnon and the Abs. He had 88 points in 82 games last year, playing for 3 separate teams. A lot of those points were with the Avalanche, so, that's fair play as well. I just think that it's hard to look at that and say, this is the player he is now, right? I mean, an 85 to 90-point player after 4 straight seasons of 100-point pace or more, right? But I do buy the narrative that he's going to lose some points off the top due to a decrease in ice time. That makes sense to me. That's going to happen, right? In Colorado, he was routinely skating for 22 plus minutes, and that's not going to happen here in Dallas, right? That's real and needs to be baked in for sure. But I'm not here for a sub 85 point season. I just can't see it. I'm taking the over there. And if that's the case, I think his offensive ceiling is in line with a couple others on this list. And his periffs are a little bit better than average as well. So when I dig in on Mikko Rantanen a little bit here, his IPP when he was with the Avs was on the lower side for what I consider a superstar player. It was in kind of the low 60s in percentile. I think that number is going to go up with the Stars. I think he's going to have a bigger piece of the pie, a bigger part of the offense. And I think that that's a reasonable leap to make. I feel comfortable with that, just considering Rantanen's body of work and also the lines that he's potentially playing with, or the players he's potentially playing with in Dallas, right? We have seen some training camp lines here. I don't know what Glenn Gulletson is doing over there, but we've got Rantanen with Johnston and Jamie Benn on line one. What the hell? I don't understand. Does Jamie Benn have like some dirt on a bunch of people and he just keeps getting, fed these opportunities? I don't know. Ben is all right, but that's not really the line that I wanted to see there. But I still think that the minutes are going to be there for Rantanen. I'm not worried about him. Johnston is great. He's an underrated facilitator. He shows out in things like high danger passes per 60, passing off the, great off the wall passes from the center lane, right? Things that Rantanen would like to be at the end of, right? Passes he would like to be at the end of. So I think Ben is a good net front guy as well. So forechecker, it's going to keep him relevant for this year of fantasy here if that deployment sticks. But I do like the Johnston Rantanen connection. I think there's something there and they could really work well together. Dallas power play. I've talked about this a little bit, but that's something I'm really excited about. Last year, they were third in the league in expected goals for per 60, but they only converted at the 17th best percentage. So to me, that's a powder keg. That's ready to blow. Okay. And now we got Glenn Gulletson in here. And I know he's not running the power play per se, but he was one of the architects of the Oilers' insane power play from a couple of years ago. This guy knows how to get the best out of his players with the man advantage. He knows how to coach star players, right? I also think there's a nuclear option where Dallas just goes ham on the power play and Ranto adds like 5 to 10 points on top of the 31 power play points that we've projected for him. I think that's reasonable to me. That's in the wheelhouse. I just can't be out on this player quite yet. I can't be out on Rantanen. Yes, I agree he's being drafted too high, and I wouldn't feel good drafting him in the first round. I just don't think that makes sense. But early to mid second round feels really good to me for Rantanen, and I'll be snapping him up if he's around at that point. When I look at the players lower than Rantanen on this list, I just feel like Rantanen has that X factor and the ability to pop off, right? And like I said, where we draft him, that's going to be the real kind of issue here, the conundrum. Yahoo ADP for Ranto, 10.4. That's way too high. I can't in good faith do that with the variance that's potentially coming. I'm going to reference some APL ADPs as well. That's the Apples and Ginos Patron League. And we have, a bunch of leagues, and we've got a bunch of ADPs from it. And the Apple ADP is 12. So that's a little better, but still a bit high for me. So, if you want Rantanen on your team this season, it looks like you're going to have to pay up to do so. And I'm not sure I'm here for it. But in terms of his projection, Rantanen, 35 goals, 54 assists, 89 points. Like I said, I had him higher than Nate. So, that's an aggregate projection that we had. 221 shots on goal, 43 hits, 36 blocks, 31 power play points. Bang. He's still going to be uber valuable for fantasy, but, might have priced himself out even with just a good playoffs that he had there in Dallas. So anyways, I love the player. We'll see what happens. Let's move on. We got to talk about the Sex Panther. Oh yeah. Sam Reinhart. Love to see it. What you're getting in Sam Reinhart to me is a rock solid floor with really good cross category coverage. He's an extremely efficient player, which we know already. He plays with Barkov exclusively, who's one of the league's premier setup men to me, an amazing forechecker, just a puck hound. And we've seen the ceiling case with Sam Reinhart, right? He had 57 goals just 2 years ago, but I do think that his floor is really safe as well, around 35 goals, and that's extremely valuable. A lot of Florida players had career highs in hits, and Reinhart was one of them last year. This guy popped for 103 hits. really nice. Also had a nice shorthanded season as well. So he does that. 5 goals, 6 points. He just does it all. To me, Reinhart's a really safe pick in the second round. He plays a ton. Matt Tkachuk is going to be out until December probably. So Reinhart's going to be relied on even more for the offense. And, you know, why do we have Sam Reinhart over some of these other players here? I think really for that reason, first off, that's one reason, just the safety. And then the second reason would be just the really good periffs. Like, this guy has great power play points. We've projected him for 31. He's got great goal numbers and a really secure role as one of the top players on a Stanley Cup winning team. Like, this pick is not going to feel sexy, right? But it's super safe. And I think that Sam Reinhart is a great second rounder just to bolster your squad. He's got the dual eligibility on Yahoo as well. Really nice player. I'm not going to be out on this guy. I'm not sure how high the ceiling is. I think, 90 points would probably be ceiling, but 80 points is probably floor at this point, and that'll play. So in terms of projection for Sam Reinhart, we've got him for 37 goals, 46 assists, 83 points. Pretty damn nice. 224 shots on goal, 91 hits, 68 blocks, which is really valuable, and then 31 power play points. So get some Sex Panther in your life and do it now. All right, let's move on to number 5 here, right wingers. We're talking big Tage Thompson. Oh, yeah. Tage actually comes out in our projections. He comes out a little bit ahead of Reinhart and, in those projections. But this one, to me, having Tage a little lower than Reinhart is more about team situation than it is about the actual player. Because Buffalo and Florida, I mean, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? So I think there are definitely signs of life for the Sabres towards the end of the year. Tage specifically, like, this guy was just bombing away out there, 14 goals in the last 22 games. I'm really excited about Tage this season because of the goal potential, right? The shot potential. He's got those things in spades. And also, I like a good narrative, folks. All right. I think that Tage has a bee in his bonnet. He's motivated this season. He got snubbed for the Four Nations there. He wants to be an Olympian. I think he's really going to come out like swinging here. And I also really trust the underlying metrics with this player. He's a big time shot and chance generator. Like, we've seen proof of concept there. I mean, last season, Tage was 15th overall in shots on goal per 60, 9th overall in chucking pucks per 60. Pretty damn nice. All right. This guy, he puts the biscuit in the basket. He does it very well. So I just really like the outlook there in terms of the shots and chance generation. I also really like the addition of Josh Norris here in Buffalo as the 1C. They've shown in, some of the training camp lines here that Norris is going to take that position right off the bat. I think it's a great thing. And on the power play as well. If Norris does get the power play, we haven't seen that, but I think he'd be great in that bumper position. Tage on the flank, just bombing one-timers there. And in terms of periffs, Tage has those as well. He's not going to hurt you, right? Like I said, the shots are huge. I projected him personally for almost 300 shots this season. I think he's going to be a monster, and I don't want to be out on a player of this caliber. And then, we have Tage as number 5 over a couple other players lower on this list. That may be a bit of a hot take, but I should say that these players are all really close, right? We're naming the top 10 right wingers, but this is a really strong position, right wing. We have there's a group of players that, you can make an argument for all of them to be better than the other one in terms of this list. So take it with a grain of salt. I'd love to hear your takes on some of these players. So hit me up in the comments, but I just think that Tage is the upside play of this kind of tier of right wingers, and I'm here for it. And another nice thing about Tage is the potential value you can get him in drafts, right? He's going a lot later than the next couple picks here in this list. Tage's Yahoo ADP is 40, right? Something like that. And then his APL ADP, it's only 28. So you're getting some value here with Tage, I think. And there's a ceiling case. Like, Nate and I projected him for a fairly low power play number just because Buffalo's power play hasn't really hit over the last little while. So it's hard to just project it to take a huge jump. But again, we've seen proof of concept there. Like, Tage can pop off on the power play. We only have him for 22 power play points. That could easily be 25 to 30 power play points if things break right. So I really like Tage this year. I'm hoping to get a piece. For the projection, we got 44 goals, 36 assists, 80 points. We project him for 292 shots, 76 hits, 38 blocks, and 22 power play points, which I said. I think you'll be able to, he has a lot of headroom there to get some more there. Okay. Before we move on to number 6, we got to talk about the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Draft Guide. Oh yeah, this is a really nice document here. Something we worked really hard on this summer. You got 375 plus player projections of Nate and my individual projections, and then the aggregate projection. 32 NHL teams previewed. We've got all the sleepers. We got busts. We got prop bets. Lots of stuff. Nate wrote a really high-level strategy article in here as well that is pretty much a must-read for fantasy buffs. So you got to get your biscuits in there. Head on over to patreon.com/applesginos. And yeah, it's a great document. You know what? I'm feeling kind of froggy here. The first 5 people that comment on our YouTube video, I'm going to give you a free copy of this document here. Okay, so hit me up. Just comment. Any comment will do. Hopefully it's positive. Don't be a dingus. But yeah, hit us up with a comment here on the YouTube. First 5 comments gets a free copy of the fantasy draft guide from Apples and Ginos. That's it. I put it out there. We're doing it. But yeah, if you want to purchase this thing, patreon.com/applesginos. Let's get to biz. All right. We got to move on. We got to talk about our number 6 here. Big Willie style, Willie Nylander. Yeah, and I'm aware, you could easily take William Nylander over Tage Thompson, and it would make total sense. I think the big reason for Tage over William Nylander is the peripheral stats, right? The shots on goal, the hits, the blocks. I mean, Tage also has better individual chance and shot metrics, right? Just by a little bit, right? But he does play for a considerably worse team. I just think our projections favor Tage. They have him a little bit higher than Nylander. And Nylander's an old dancing boy. He's old cowpoke. He doesn't hit a damn thing out there. So you're just not getting that value. But in terms of straight offense, Willie's your guy, right? He's going to get more points than Tage. I think there's almost 100% chance he scores more than Tage. So I'll put that out there. Nylander's, he's great. He's an absolute beast with zone entries, high danger passes. He does that. Anything that drives offense, Willie is doing it. And it looks like, we have some security as well. They're going to run it back. The line he played with mostly last year, John Tavares, possibly Bobby McMahon, right? So we do know what to expect with Nylander, I think. And that line works and should give us some security when drafting him as well. Metrics for Nylander at 5-on-5 did fall a little bit under Craig Berube. And I'm talking about his IPP, his shots on goal per 60, individual scoring chances for per 60. They were all the lowest numbers that he's had in the past 4 seasons. Nothing crazy, didn't drop off a cliff, but lower than what he's done previously in the previous 4 seasons. So that said, too, his on-ice shooting percentage was a little higher than usual at 5-on-5. So maybe that's more of a Craig Berube thing, like a possession style where that Berube preaches, kind of like he did with the Blues, where they were really efficient, kind of, holding on to the puck and making sure that the chances are grade A as opposed to, a B grade chance. Nylander also shot a career high 17.7%. So yeah, that argument might hold some water. Nylander is going around pick 15 on Yahoo and pick 19 in the APL ADP. So obviously I'd rather him at the, Apples and Ginos Patron League ADP, but I don't think you could be too upset if you grab him at the beginning of the second. This is a guy that he still has a 100-point upside, but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the team adapts now that the core 4 is no more, right? They're the wee 3. Will they lean on Nylander's line a little bit more? Maybe, right? It's just hard to say if it's really going to affect what Nylander does, like the loss of Marner here. I'm interested to see that. But I think Nylander's shown the consistency and the underlying skill to keep us worry-free. This guy's a stud. You draft with confidence. I think, at all the ADPs, he's being valued appropriately. And he's dual eligible as well, which is really nice. His projection here, 42 goals, 43 assists, 85 points. That's probably light, right? But that's kind of in line with some of the numbers that he had shown under Craig Berube last season. So yeah, there's room for more for sure. Shots on goal, 269, hits 18. Thanks for coming out, my man. 27 blocks, 30 power play points. Yeah, it's going to be a great player, great asset for your team. Pick him up. All right, let's move on. His former partner in crime, Mitchell Marner. All right, the scapegoat. for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's funny. I've talked with Nate and I talked with Josh Hutchinson a little bit just about the Mitch Marner situation, and I think that Leafs fans are a little bit pissed at this guy. I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Because as an outsider, I'm watching him be like, my family was threatened, and I'm like, oh damn, man, that really sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. And I said that to Nate and Josh. They're like, whatever. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, that's, it kind of makes sense. It's probably the way I feel about Elias Pettersson out here. So I get it, guys. All right. But I'm sure he's still a good person. Anyways, let's talk about Mitch Marner. I could see this guy being a lot higher on the list. It's so weird to have Mitch Marner as 7 on the right wing, top 10 right wing list, but it kind of makes sense to me in the format, right? I just think there's variance. There's a bit of risk. It's new face going to a new place. That worries me a touch, right? The player himself, Mitch Marner, he's elite for fantasy, should be a 100-point threat every year. And he's also landed in a plum spot, right? And we've seen the first line rushes there in Vegas in training camp. They got him playing with Eichel and Ivan Barbashev. Pretty damn good. Okay. It doesn't get much better than that in Vegas. So he's going to have every opportunity to prove himself and accrue some points there. I think in terms of fantasy, the only real knock on Marner, lack of shots, right? He's not really doing that. And he's got middling peripheral stats, right? Like hits and blocks. It's not going to hurt you, but he's not ringing the bell there. He's not doing anything, extra to help. So we're relying on a bunch of assists, a bunch of power play points, right? Because, I think he will probably get 30 plus power play points. But it feels like Mitch Marner is sort of like empty calorie points. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't feel good. You want to have like something a little more solid to fall back on. And I think this early, like I'm usually looking for cross-category contributor if possible. Marner's where he's being drafted, it's reasonable, right? Yahoo he's being drafted at 18. APL ADP is 19. So there's a little bit of value there, but it's riskier to me than it's been in previous seasons. I don't think like long-term, I think Marner's going to be good to go. He'll be back to his 100-point self, but this is his first year in Vegas. And, I think that you can't just throw players together, like really elite players, and expect them to gel and blast off for fantasy. Like that doesn't work. I think the best lines in the league, they sort of know their role, right? They have an assigned role. They know what to do. And I'm just curious to see how Marner fills that role in the top 6, right? If he does play with Eichel is a really good facilitator as well. He was much more of a facilitator last season. And now with Marner on his line, who's going to shoot the puck, right? I think common sense tells me it's going to be Eichel. He's going to have more shots on goal, more goals, hopefully, but we don't know that for certain. Either way, Marner is a guy that's going to get a ton of minutes. He's going to get all the offensive zone deployment. He's going to get a lot of penalty kill minutes as well, too, I imagine. So I'm excited to see what he can do. It's a great pickup for the Vegas Golden Knights. This guy could be a major value in your drafts, right? If you're getting him after pick 20, you got a 100-point upside here. So pretty damn nice. Shout out to Mitch Marner. Projection for him, 27 goals, 71 assists, 98 points. Bang. Love that. Shots on goal, 176, 45 hits, 41 blocks, 31 power play points. That'll play. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. At number 8, we got my boy, my one, my only, my everything, Marty Necas. Yeah. My fantasy hockey business card just has a picture of Necas's face on it eating an apple, right? That's the level. That's the level of excitement I have for this man. And gratitude, right? The guy had a great season last year. It was glorious, right? And now he's landed in a plum spot here in Colorado. He figures to get line 1 deployment with Nathan MacKinnon. Like, what else do you want? The only guy that doesn't seem happy about it is Marty Necas. Every time you hear about this player, he's talking about potentially moving on or a contract situation. Like, what, if you're Marty Necas, wouldn't you just get the contract signed immediately? Like, oh, I get to play with Nate MacKinnon, just, game after game. Yeah, sign me up. Right. I know it's not that easy, folks, but it's a great situation that he's in terms of fantasy production. That's for sure. And I think Nathan MacKinnon and Necas, they showed reasonable chemistry last season, but yeah, they obviously have work to do. They're both like these just crazy skaters. I think that Necas, like one of the things I was expecting for him in Carolina going into last year was that he would have a better performance on the power play. And he did that. He went off. The guy, he just had a massive amount of points, went nuclear, but cooled off after that. And then once he was traded, it was closer to a point per game pace for Martin Necas. So I do expect a little bit more this season here with the full training camp and an offseason to prepare. I think that, yeah, he's going to be in a better position to hit for fantasy. Obviously, Necas' best asset to me, his ability to enter the zone at will with speed, push the D back, find passing lanes for his teammates. He does that, right? This guy's electric. He's one of the NHL's best and fastest skaters too. So just a fun player to watch. And obviously, what we saw in Carolina 2 years ago, and then even a little bit last year, his deployment was always the thing holding him back, right? Well, now in Colorado under Jared Bednar, he should get the 20-minute treatment and power play one, right? And I think there's a real ceiling case here with Necas. Nate talked about this. A player like Necas could maybe hit for 100 points. That's not that crazy to me. I don't think that is likely, but it's there if everything breaks right. So that all said, all the value, all that amazing value we had with Marty Necas, that's gone, right? Last season, I had him in 7 of my leagues. I picked him up after pick 100 in 4 of those leagues. That's stupid. That's stupid value. And now he's appropriately ranked, and that makes sense. But I don't think it's just scare people off. Yahoo ADP for Martin Necas, 48.9, APL ADP 35.6. I'm proud of that number. All right. We worked hard for that number, folks. And you were the ones that made it happen. Okay. So I really appreciate that. I mean, we wish casted a smash for Necas and it came true. Huzzah. Necas, he's historically been a volume shooter as well. And that came down last year. I think you look at a player moving teams, like 2 completely different teams as well, right? Like different identities and styles. I just think that could, maybe explain that away a little bit. And I do expect Necas to be at the end of a few more passes this season here with Colorado. So the shots are going to get up a little bit higher. Periff's not going to hurt you with Necas. But yeah, I'm sad I won't have as much of this man on my teams. But, when you love something, you have to set it free, right? All right, let's talk about Necas' projection. 27 goals, 58 assists, 85 points. We're loving that. 231 shots on goal, 63 hits, 22 blocks, and 29 power play points. He could get a lot more than 29 power play points as well if he stays power play 1 the whole year. This guy could be up around 40. Honestly, that's what Colorado's power play does. So, yeah, I think that's the nuclear option where he goes for 100 is if he really pops on the power play. Really love the player. He's really exciting to watch, and I'm stoked for Colorado this year. Okay, let's rip into number 9. We're feeling fine. Number 9 on our list of top 10 right wingers for points leagues is Jesper Bratt. I don't think that people realize how good Jesper Bratt is just because he's kind of in the shadow of Jack Hughes there in Jersey, but I just think this guy's an absolute unit out there. He's one of the premier rush players in the league, even though, head coach Sheldon Keefe kind of reeled the Devils back a little bit in that area. They used to be like just a wagon of a rush team that he kind of brought that back a little bit. But still, I think Jesper Bratt is bringing a lot to the table. Last year we got pretty unexpected periffs, right? We got hits and blocks. He had 96 hits, 42 blocks. Like, bang, that's excellent. We did lose a little bit off his shot total, but I think something interesting happened with Bratt towards the back half of the season. Jack Hughes obviously injured, and once that happened, Bratt started playing with Heischer and Meyer, or / Nason. And I think obviously with those type of players, Heischer and Meyer in particular, those are shooters, right? So he had to adapt his game to be more of a passer. And I think the shots and goal totals just fell off a bit. For reference, like he had 15 goals in the first half of the year when he was playing with Jack Hughes consistently, and only 6 in the last 36 games. So, that's showing no good. He just stopped shooting and definitely stopped scoring. I think that Jesper Bratt is a guy that should be scoring 30 on the regular. So still a successful season, right? But only because he's talented enough to adapt his play style. I think with the full season of Jack Hughes, that gets me pretty excited thinking about what it might mean for Jesper Bratt. I think that, Nate and I projected a modest bump in goal scoring, but I do think there's a world where this guy pops off for like 35 to 40 goals. I think with Hughes in the lineup driving play, this offense is lethal, right? The Devils last year, they were pretty inefficient at 5-on-5. So I think there's some runway for them to regress positively there as well. Bratt in particular, right? He's on Hughes' line. So in terms of Yahoo ADP for Jesper Bratt, he's at 37, APL ADP a little higher at 27, right? So you got to pay up in sharper leagues, but I do think that's appropriate value. And you're just not going to be able to get a discount there with this player, right? Everybody knows he's good enough to warrant this type of ADP. I just think if you can get Jesper Bratt in the third round, that's an absolute smash, right? You're loving life. The good thing about Bratt too, he doesn't need Jack Hughes to be a beast for fantasy, but with Jack Hughes, it's just icing on the cake, right? His ceiling just goes even higher, and I think that's what's going to happen this year. I'm excited for Jesper Bratt and the Devils in particular. Projection for Bratt, I've got 25 goals, 62 assists, 87 points, 202 shots on goal, 83 hits, which is awesome, 42 blocks, and then 27 points on the power play. Lots of room to grow there on those power play points as well. All right. Sorry, my throat's getting dry here. All right, let's finish the list. At number 10, we got Adrian Kempe of the Los Angeles Kings. Last but not least, it's weird. Kempe kind of passes me by sometimes when I'm drafting, but he shouldn't, right? This guy, all he's ever done the past couple seasons is clap bombs and truck people. That's what he does. All right. With Kempe, you're getting a great goal scoring floor, right? This is a guy that should push for 40 goals a year. It is going to be interesting to see how the Kings deal with their top six there, how the ice time is managed between his line and which is Kopitar, Kempe, and Big Kuzi, Andrei Kuzmenko, and then the other line for the Kings, Quentin Byfield, Kevin Fiala, and Alex Laferriere, which I think should probably be the top line. But I mean, I'm not concerned that Kempe is going to lose any time on ice, but will Kopitar, right? Like he's already come out and said that this is going to be his last season. Will he still get the 20-minute treatment there, Kopitar, or will he sort of pass the torch to Quentin Byfield and maybe hover around the 17-minute mark? Time will tell, right? But obviously Kempe and Kopitar have some really good chemistry. They've played together for a few years now. So it'll just be interesting to see how that affects Kempe. I do think that the Kings power play was hot garbage last year. I think they were 27th overall in power play percentage. And Kempe has some room to grow there, obviously. Like he had 18 power play points last year. Not great, right? To me, it just remains to be seen if the Kings are content with running a 5-forward set there on the power play. That just doesn't work. I mean, yeah, Kempe is great defensively, so you can throw him back there and he can get the biz, right? It's not a huge problem, with goals going the other way, but I don't know. Kempe is better when he's closer to the net. This guy's got a bomb of a shot. So when you put him on the blue line, you're taking away a weapon there. Like this is a guy that should be in tight to the net, getting high danger scoring chances. So yeah, it's an interesting piece. I'm watching that Kings power play. I can't wait for some of the lines to come out so we can start digging in there. But yeah, I think they gotta give Brant Clark a chance there. I think that would really help the power play. At the very least, Drew Doughty needs to get back on power play one there. But it is surprising to me they took Doughty off. So I think if it's one of those two, Doughty or Clark, I'm banking that it's going to be Clark getting first shot at running the show there on power play one. And if so, I think that the Kings are going to have a better shot at, converting a little bit more. So I like Kempe for some more power play points there. I mean, the Kings as a team, they didn't exactly get better in the offseason, did they? Like they signed Cody Ceci and they lost Gavrikov, right? That should really tell you all you need to know. I think they might be in tough a little bit, but we'll see. I still like Kempe, and I think he's well worth your draft picks here. A projection for him, we've got him for 36 goals, 38 assists, 74 points, 252 shots on goal, 111 hits. So that's really nice. 34 blocks, and then 22 power play points, up from 18 last year. And I think there's a little bit of headroom there. You could probably, put another 5 on top of that. I got 5 on it. Is that a song? I don't know. Every time I say put 5 down, then I think of the song. That's just the way my brain works. Anyways, hit me up in the comments if you know what song that is. I could Google it, but I don't want to. All right. Anyways, shout out to Adrian Kempe. That is our top 10 points league list for right wingers. Now let's go into some category stuff. We're not going to spend too much time here, but I did want to highlight a couple players before I give you our full list of category players. Tom Wilson and Drake Batherson. Batherson, spoiler alert, didn't make the top 10 right wingers in category leagues, but he's an honorable mention. I just wanted to, just talk about him briefly, but I'll talk about Wilson here first. This guy's a unit. He's an absolute wrecking ball out there. Just had a career high 65 points, 17 on the power play. And, this was the first year where he was really prioritized out there, in my opinion. And he got power play 1. I love that. And also his line with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Connor McMichael, they became a real defensive force out there and turned a lot of, turnovers into some solid transition play, some offense, right? And they took a lot of pressure off the OV line and the Strome line there. So Wilson as well had big efficiency, right? As most of the Capitals did last year. So some of that probably goes away, but I think we still have a nice projection for him. 61 points for Wilson here. I think power play 1 is here to stay. And I think he could have a little bit of room there for production if he finds himself a little bit more involved in the play, right? And that's a big if, right? His IPP on the power play was in the 40s. I think it was 44%. That's the lowest in 3 seasons. But this is the first year that he was truly a power play 1 mainstay. So it makes sense. He has that, Zach Hyman role in front of the net, right? Whereas he's just there to bang away at rebounds. But I just think this guy needs to be a priority in your bangers leagues, especially if you have PIMs, right? If you have penalty minutes in your league, it bumps Tom Wilson up to number 3 in terms of our top right wingers for category leagues, right? I had him in the only bangers league I play last year, and he finished 12th in the format. And I got him at pick 98. I mean, it was crazy. It was wild stuff, basically. And I won that league, right? So, I love Tom Wilson in that league. Like, don't be afraid to reach to get this guy in that kind of format. I think his role is secure. He's only getting stronger. So shout out to him. I mean, we got him for 242 hits, which is, that's ludicrous, right? Feel really good about that. We also got him for 73 blocks. And then, he's over 100 PIMs, right? So it's really nice stuff there for Tommy Wilson. Okay. Let's talk about Drake Batherson really quickly here. He's just a guy I wanted to highlight as a Cats League beauty, right? It's interesting with Batherson, actually. He's been yo-yoing back and forth between good power play production and good even strength production, like one season to the next, right? And I just think one of these years, he's really going to put it together. I don't know if it's going to be next year here, but I think when he does, he's going to pop the hell off. For now, we have a pretty nice projection for him. Drake Batherson, we got him for 70 points, which is, really nice. He's a right winger as well, right? So, that's 28 goals, 42 assists. Pretty damn nice. 28 points on the power play, 211 shots, 133 hits. Really good stuff. Like, he's popping off, right? So I just think it's a guy you need to have on your radar in these type of formats. And in terms of ADP for Wilson and Batherson, Wilson is on Yahoo. He's going at 112. So some nice value there. APL, he's getting a little bit higher at 98. Whereas Batherson on Yahoo, 82.5. APL, he's even a little higher than that, 85.5. So some good value. This is kind of the mushy middle of your draft. And you think you could do a lot worse, even in points leagues with these two beauties. So shout out to them. Now let's get into kind of our final list here of top 10 fantasy right wingers. Again, starting with the points leagues, I'll just run it down here. Number 1, Kucherov. Number 2, Pasternak. Number 3, Mikko Rantanen. 4, the Sex Panther, Sammy Reinhart. Number 5, Tage Thompson. 6, Willie Nylander. 7, Mitch Marner. 8, Marty Necas. 9, Jesper Bratt. And 10, Adrian Kempe. Now let's move over to our category leagues. I'll give you our top 10 list here. Kucherov still number 1. Pasternak still number 2. That doesn't change, right? Big time shot monsters, big time power play numbers. Like, that's good to go. In category leagues, Reinhart and Rantanen switch spots. So Reinhart is now number 3. And that's just due to the peripherals that he brings to the table there. Rantanen is number 4. And then Tage Thompson still holds on to number 5 there for me. Willie Nylander at number 6. Jesper Bratt jumps from 9 in points leagues up to 7 in category leagues for us, based on the periffs that we talked about, the unexpected hits and blocks for that player, plus the power play points. Plus, he should have more shots on goal this year than he did last year for the reasons I mentioned. Mitch Marner at number 8. Yeah, he falls just 1 just because the real lack of periffs, lack of goals, lack of shots, right? So in a Cats format, Marner does lose a little bit of value. We got Tom Wilson making the list here, at number 9. We do have Marner over Wilson because in category leagues, I just really feel like we need to prioritize offense because that is the harder, those are the hardest categories to cover, right? Yes, I love Tom Wilson, and he had some good offensive categories as well, but we're looking at Marner, who's a potential 100-point player, to Wilson, who's like a 60-point player. And really, that's it. Even though Wilson brings all those other intangibles, I think we still have to prioritize the offense there with Mitch Marner. So that's the thought there. And then Adrian Kempe as our number 10. He doesn't move, but he's bringing the riffs as well. He's got, like I said, we projected him for 111 hits and a bunch of shots as well. So that's really it. That's our list. We did it. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm at the 45-minute mark again. I feel good about that. I'm trying to keep these reasonable for you people, but I really like doing this stuff. We're going to do the top 10 centers next. I'm going to do top 10 left wing, and then I'll do the top 5 0G targets for goalies. We'll also throw a top 10 list in there as well for goalies at the position. But yeah, I'm looking more forward to doing the top 5 0G guys. All right. So while I have you, please head on over, join the Apples and Ginos Discord community. Link is in the description. If you like what you see here on YouTube, like the video, rate, review, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. It really helps us out. We've had an amazing summer, and it's all thanks to you listeners, you viewers. It's been so satisfying, and I'm excited to get into this season to work with you all. I love chatting fantasy puck here. I want to get as many dubs in the back pocket as possible for all you listeners. So that's why we do this stuff. Your victories equal our victories, and I really mean that. I'm not just being a wiener. So we appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking this video out. But that's it. Hopefully this brought you a little bit of fantasy value, all right, and helped you get a little bit better there. I'm wrecking the thing here. Many thanks to my brother, Matt Creamer, for supplying the music. I really appreciate that, my man. And until next time, celebrate your day, folks. Bye for now.